Honestly, I didn't expect to have to do this, but here we are. In July, I released a Pacifist challenge video on the original Donkey Kong Country. That project pushed me to my limit when it came to the difficulty of the challenge, and I was very proud of the final video when it was done. However, I received many comments that have drastically changed the outcome of the video, as I originally stated that it would be impossible to complete the challenge without defeating an enemy. Oh, sorry, Kremling in the video. Today I'm going to address a couple things about that video, and I have something neat at the end, so let's talk about it. We're going to take care of the easy one, Kremlings. With the script and the original title of the video, one would assume this means all the crocodile-like enemies. That's because the Kremlings exclude the zingers, neckies, mini-neckies, and all the aquatic enemies in the game. So while I say without defeating a Kremling, it's actually without defeating an enemy, as is for all of the other pacifist challenges I've done. I thought it would work similar to how the Sonic franchise uses the term badnik for enemies for a number of games, but I was wrong on that one. My mistake. At the end of the video, I mentioned there was a ROM hack by the creator Rainbow Sprinkles. In that video, I said I wasn't able to play it, but I'm now able to try it out, and I'm able to talk about it briefly. Like I said, it's far more forgiving than the original since you only take damage when you defeat an enemy, but if you die, you'll restart from the last checkpoint right away, so there's not going to be any of that loading screen stuff or going back to the map or whatever. There is an enemy counter and an in-game timer, so this is actually pretty sweet. I do like how much they added into this, so I recommend trying it out. There's going to be a link in the description to get the patch, but getting the ROM is going to be your job. And apparently I didn't do a great job of it because I didn't get the right version of the game to play and to show off for the video, so here it is now. Now there were some glitches that were brought up in the comment section of the video, and I'd like to finally address them. Aside from not knowing about these glitches, I was playing on the Nintendo Switch Online version of Donkey Kong Country, which uses the latest revision of the game. These don't have the glitch, but here's how to do them if you have older versions of the game. After Jungle Hijinks, if the player only has one character, you can do what is called a map warp. I actually saw this in a video on beating the game without jumping by sample, but this has been common knowledge among speedrunners. In Congo Jungle, there are these paths that have angles on them, such as the one in Jungle Hijinks, the two before Reptile Rumble, and one after Coral Capers. With one Kong, pressing start or B or whatever button it is that you want to use to select a level, while making that turn on the corner will warp the player into Orangutan Gang, skipping the first level that made the challenge impossible, Vulture Culture. To be more specific, it would spawn you 2/3 of the way through the level where these 3 claptraps are. From there, you could attempt to beat the level with just the Kongs, or you can intentionally take a death and start the level from the beginning. The benefit of this would be being able to beat the level with Espresso. You could also go into the warp right before Reptile Rumble. This also takes you to Orangutan Gang, but it places you even further in the level, right over the critters and at the very end. This skips a large chunk of the game and would have been very useful had I known about this. And when it comes to a pacifist challenge, I am not above exploiting a glitch such as this. Next one is the infinite jump glitch. This can only be executed in 2 levels, as they just so happen to be in levels with minecarts. This is perfect because the other level that ended the pacifist playthrough was Minecart Madness. This is going to require both Kongs and the checkpoint. At said checkpoint, you're going to take damage from the first necky you see and then fall into the abyss. From here, I've had a hard time getting the timing right, but when you go back in the level, you're going to press the run and jump buttons simultaneously. I tend to mash the 2 buttons and it works sometimes. This will give you an infinite jump, though you really don't need to press both buttons at the same time to stay in the air infinitely. I found using the roll jump to be far more comfortable and consistent after the initial jump. So, use this to get to the end, right? Well, no. This does allow me to stay in the air for an indefinite amount of time, until I cross the first platform with a tire lodged in it. For some reason, this causes the glitch to no longer work. The platform's nowhere near the critters, and there are 4 of these platforms that follow it, so this level is still impossible. It was a good effort, but I'm still stuck. Now that would have been the end of this video, but there is a comment that points out another path to the end of the game. It's going to require some setup and a lot of things to go right. First, we got to beat the level with 1 Kong, then get ready to perform the split up glitch. This requires going into a level that's been beaten, grabbing and throwing a DK barrel, and returning to the map before the barrel breaks. From here, we'll need to go to Orangutan Gang via map warp. Once there, go backwards and take damage from the Manky Kong's barrel. If you take damage over solid ground, the game's going to softlock. After taking a death, you're going to need to take a steel barrel at the beginning of the level, and you'll need to carry it all the way until you get to Espresso's crate. From here, there's a setup so you can pick up the barrel while riding our animal friend. Place Espresso on the ground near the treetops, then go on top of the treetops with the barrel and throw it to the right. As it returns, jump and land on the barrel so you can ride it and get to Espresso. This is where you're going to need to pick up the barrel, and it'll allow you to ride Espresso, so you'll be riding an animal and you'll be holding the barrel at the same time. From here, you'll need to follow a specific path that involves hitting the checkpoint barrel, avoiding the DK barrel right after it, and preventing the screen from going too high up when you go towards the entrance of the second bonus stage. You'll need to keep holding the run button or you're going to let go of the barrel. You're going to need to hold on to this. Go too far and you'll warp to the beginning of the game. I really don't know the timing, so I just kept trying until I got it in the right place. In the bonus stage, you're going to need to take the DK barrel, and as you throw it, move to the right so that way both Kongs will go through the exit. Because of the split up glitch, they're both going to be player controlled, so if they both go through it and you've done it correctly, you'll be in Manic Minster's writing Espresso as Diddy Kong. If not, you'll have to do it all over again, and you could potentially soft lock the game. Once you beat Manic Minster's, you can go all the way through the rest of the game like I showed in the original video. There is one more thing, but I am going to leave that as a note for later, because I know with all of this out of the way, you're going to be wondering what's with the extra time in this video, so here's the deal. I thought it would be nice to have a more accurate version of this challenge. This is what the video would look like if I had knowledge of these glitches, but rather than go for it right away, it's going to be as if I attempted the challenges, then did my research after I failed, and then went for the actual glitches that I have shown off so far, with one extra that I haven't shown off. I get that the original video was done through Nintendo Switch Online's version, but aside from the glitches, the game is nearly identical. So I think video-wise, it would still make sense, even though with the power of hindsight, it doesn't. Anyway, this is going to be a re-edit of the video, so with that said, enjoy the new version. We start off the challenge with pure disappointment. From there, I stuck to the treetops until I got Diddy Kong. Then I misjudged the jump and landed on a Naughty. Going back is a little unfortunate because I'm trying to get to another treetop but lost Donkey Kong to a Necky, only to screw up anyway. I got it on my second attempt, but the trees lead nowhere. Jumping over the Naughties would have been fine if one didn't change direction. And that's it for the level. Jump over the enemies, never get Ramby, that's pretty much it. The only challenge in Ropey's Rampage are these armadillo enemies called the armies, because they can roll around at a speed fast enough to get in the way. Then there's the critter at the end because of the tiny platform. I'm gonna have to get used to these situations, but not this time since there's a barrel that puts me through a bonus room to then take out another critter. Damn. I got through it eventually, but a rope swing takes me to another one. Trying to judge where the platform ends isn't fun because you can easily slip off. A few attempts later, the level is done. Reptile Rumble introduces the Slippa. Right now they're not a threat because they're alone. Things went pretty smooth until I came across 3 of them after this tire. Damage boosting made things worse as now I have to start over. Coming back to the Slippa wasn't great either since I was above one of them and dropped down to knock it out. There's actually 4 Slippas because one of them was off screen the first time. Another attempt worked out since I had to make sure there was a wide enough gap and now the level is over. Coral Capers is a water level. As long as I keep my distance while riding on guard, I don't have to worry about enemies. Barrel Cannon Canyon has a long barrel sequence where I'm never on the ground, so it takes care of a large portion of the intro. Sadly, the barrels over the abyss lead to knocking out a critter. There is a bonus level near the end of it, and I just have to miss this rising barrel to get to it. What's even better is that I'm placed next to the checkpoint. The weird part comes up where these 2 critters can be knocked out by this barrel, so I have to take another route. This takes me to the final barrel section and the end of the level. I fight Very Naughty and finish up Congo Jungle. Winky's Walkway was great. There's lots of space to move around and with no problem enemies. Minecart Carnage is a level where it's impossible to fight enemies, so we get another easy win. Bouncy Bonanza isn't too bad either. Obviously, waiting for some of the critters to land before going for jumps is key, but there are ones with these large jumps that'll require waiting for them to go into the air. It's another easy level. Stop and Go Station would have been another easy win because the majority of the claptraps are spread far apart and the Rocker Rocks can only be defeated with the hand slap in the GBA version of Donkey Kong Country. The only threat they pose is if they're aggressive when the barrels aren't activated. Anyway, this trio of claptraps ruined the level for me. It's fine because there's one with this super tiny ledge that made it worse. After another attempt, I finished the level with 1 Kong remaining. But then there's Milestone Mayhem, my own personal hell. Going through the bonus stage got me past a dangerous enemy, Crusher. It's a shame these critters are jumping very low, so they have to be jumped over. This created a few issues like under this massive wheel. On a return, I made it past them, but made a huge mistake with the TNT barrel. If you pick one up, it will explode whether an enemy touches it or when it detonates after a few seconds. Another attempt was ended when a group of 4 critters were clumped together, making this long jump impossible. It took a bit of time to despawn one of them and maneuver through the rest. After that is one of the toughest parts of the level. These pits have slippas and the wheel is so close to the spots that I can jump across. I thought damage boosting here would have been a must. It doesn't make it much easier since there's a Necky on this platform that I really needed. Before I got back there, I managed to jump over the hitbox of that massive wheel, meaning I can get through without damage boosting. I think it was about 10 minutes of attempts later, but I finally jumped over the wheel, roll jumped over the Necky, and damage boosted over the slippas to finally beat the level. All combined, it was about 34 minutes.
And now it's finally time for the Necky's nuts. And now I can move on to Vine Valley. Vulture culture starts with a massive problem. The mini Necky is in the way, but what's even worse is the barrel that forces me to knock out this full-size Necky. Sadly, it does get worse as this is one of many barrels that aim at a Necky. Without any bonus stages or warps nearby, I'm stuck. Even if I were to damage boost, I'd have to guarantee that I could do it for every single one of them, and the way this level is laid out, that's just not possible.
Though we can't get out of vulture culture, there is a way to get past the level. This requires having only one Kong and attempting to enter the level in one of the 4 corners of Congo Jungle. Since I only have one Kong, I went to the corner which took me all the way to Orangutan Gang. But getting Espresso makes it another win since Espresso cannot attack, so all of the enemies are easy to get over. Clam City is another water level, so we can move on to Bumblebee Rumble and wrap up Vine Valley. I hate ice physics in platformers, not a fan. With that said, Snow Barrel Blast makes it a little tough, but manageable. I just gotta watch for the enemies blindsiding me. It goes well, but there's this part where there are 2 Neckies in a crossfire of a barrel. It can be avoided sometimes as long as you try to land in the space between the 2 Neckies. From here it becomes more difficult since the snow's really starting to fall, making visibility really tough. It's not even the Neckies or the Naughties, it's the barrels. Timing them with faster and faster moving zingers is the most annoying part. Thankfully there's a hidden barrel that'll blast you through all of it without having to deal with the zingers and allow you to finish the level. Slip Slide Ride adds ice physics to the ropes, so that'll be fun. There's a narrow bit with 2 critters that's kinda tough since you're a little bit higher, so you can't really see them until you're too close. Damage boosting it is. Rather than jump on the Necky, I took the barrel and it got me around after getting some free bananas. And that's about it. There wasn't a whole lot else going on. The rest is avoiding zingers near the icy ropes, so not a lot to deal with. Ice H Alley has a Necky after a rope where I have to either hit it, fall into the abyss, or land on the platform. Later on there's a mini Necky that forces you to slip underneath it, but there will be other ones that will make it annoying to go through. And honestly the problem is just the projectile. After the checkpoint there's a Menky Kong that guards the rope, which means I have to get it to turn around so I have some footing. From there I had to make a few blind jumps as I attempt to dodge claptraps, which is perfect. Well, there's only one thing to do. There were many times where I would get close but wouldn't land on the platform, so I'd slip off of it. At last I got hit by the 3rd claptrap, but then I used the character switching to hop over it after damage boosting, and I messed up again. There's a Menky Kong up a steep hill that needs to get out of the way because I can't clear it. And this is where I have to give credit to another resource that I used throughout this playthrough, the DKC Atlas. It has maps of each level and shows all the bonuses, warps, and animal buddies that you can get. And guess who's at the very far left? Espresso. And to get to him, you are going to have to damage boost through the mini Necky, so it's not the easiest to get to if you only have one character. Obviously, this means I can clear the level with no problem so long as I don't lose him. Man, I made that way too hard on myself. Anyway, Croctopus Chase has no enemies, so it's another free level. Torchlight Trouble was not much trouble. I was given just enough space to land between the clumps and the barrels, and at the first Crusha, I went into the bonus stage after picking up the barrel by accident. This level's pretty much done after that. Seems like all I had to do was not hit the fire or the spike wheels. Easy stuff. Rope Bridge Rumble is a level where you shouldn't start with Donkey Kong because the army will get in the way. Attempt number 2. Attempt number 3 was fine until I went through a bonus stage, came out, and then bonked a tire. I did the same thing on attempt number 4, but I swear I can play these games. Soon I threw a DK barrel at a red zinger, and honestly, how many more mistakes can I make? On another attempt, I get to these jumping critters, and the trick is to cartwheel over the pit and jump. Not the hardest thing in the world, but the duo critters is the trouble spot. The only solution I had was to cartwheel jump through them, and hoping to slip past them by jumping over the one on the right. This took a ton of attempts, and is a super obnoxious thing to get right. After that is another duo that jumps a bit higher, same strategy as before, and the level is pretty much done. After a fight against the really naughty, I can get the hell out of the mountains. Oil Drum Alley is a super easy level. Lots of space to move around, even with the trio of critters jumping at me, and the only thing that got me were the oil drums. I could go over how annoying Trick Track Trek was, with many enemies that land on the stupid platforms and the clump that screwed me over at the very end, but there was a warp at the beginning that made the anger increase. There were tons of tight jumps before I discovered this warp, so I guess it's fine. I was able to beat the level, so I'll take it. Elevator Antics has a few slippas, and the one that got me were the ones in this little room, making damage boosting the only way to get through. The zingers weren't too bad, but the red ones that move horizontally were tricky. Same goes for the slippa spawn in the mini Necky. It took me a while to get through that, but the key is to get through it as fast as I can. Do not let that one spawn. The mini Necky moves up and down, so wait for it to move up, and we're mostly in the clear. Even if I lose a Kong, there's a checkpoint followed by a bit of jumping around clumps. There is a bit after the DK barrel that requires jumping on the elevators because you're not given a lot of room, but there's a mini Necky that goes at 3 different elevations that took me down. There's a forgiving window for that, but it's still weird to fall on a platform that I wasn't expecting. After some time, I finally made it through while dodging projectiles from the mini Neckies.
The final elevator section is easily out of the way to finish the level. Poison Pond's another water level, so let's move on. Minecart Madness now has enemies that can be defeated, so I made sure to watch my jumps. It was going fine until the two Neckies got in the way. Turns out I didn't have to jump, which, hey, that's nice. After a bit of user error, I got into a bonus stage and got back to dodging zingers until I found a critter in a minecart. Unfortunately, there's 4 of them that are required to finish the level. So this one's another fail. There's no warp point, there's no bonus stage that'll get me through them. This one cannot be beaten. But there is something else I can try. In the minecart levels, there's a glitch that can be done to give players an infinite jump. Here's how you do it. Get both Kongs and go to the checkpoint. From here, you're going to need to take damage and fall into a pit. This is where the glitch takes place. Upon re-entering the level, you'll need to press the run and jump buttons at the same time. Some people recommend mashing it, so that's what I did. At this point, you can jump in midair to your heart's content. Though I found doing a roll jump to be far more comfortable, and the moment I got to this tire, the glitch stops working, which is not helpful because I am nowhere near the critters I need to get past. So I'm at another dead end. Or am I? I was also reminded of another warp that could help us, but I'm gonna need to start over again. We're gonna do a similar setup to the warp in Congo Jungle, but with one more trick added. After beating jungle hijinks with one Kong, go back into the level, grab and throw the DK barrel, but return to the level map before the barrel breaks. This is the setup for the split up glitch, and it's going to be very important for later. Now use the first corner you see to warp to the halfway point of Orangutan Gang. This is also going to be very important, because I'm going to need to take damage over a pit. If I take it over solid ground, it's going to soft lock the game. Anyways, once I get back into the stage, I need to take this steel barrel and go all the way until I meet up with Espresso. Thankfully, going over and under the critters is very easy. At Espresso, I'll need to place them near these treetops to the right. Then I need to grab the barrel, throw it, and ride it for a bit. And once I'm at Espresso, I grab the barrel, which also lets me ride the bird. This is where it gets really tricky. I'll need to carry this barrel, break the checkpoint, and avoid the DK one. Then I get to the very next bonus stage. But with this, if I pan the camera too high up, I'm gonna warp somewhere else. I never really figured out the best place to do this, so I just kept going for it, which took a long time. But once I'm successful, I'm going to be in the bonus stage. At this point, I'll need to get the DK barrel and position myself just right so that way I can throw it. And as I throw it, I'll need to go to the right to go to the exit. If I do this properly, the split up glitch is going to have me in control of both Diddy Kong and Donkey Kong, and they're going to both go through the exit. And once they do that, I'll start up Manic Mincers riding Espresso as Diddy Kong. And from there, you could just go to the very end of the level because Espresso can't hurt any of the enemies. If I were to be unsuccessful at this, then I could either warp to a different area, or I could softlock the game. Misty Mine would have been just as easy if it wasn't for a major screw up on my end. Before we get to that, it's a level that has a bunch of enemy spawns, and the rate that they spawn at gives more than enough time to get over them without any problems. My big mistake was accidentally grabbing the TNT barrel because I wasn't really paying attention. I know the claptrap was off screen, but it was close enough for me to count it. I didn't want to be wrong on this. It took the 5th attempt to get it right. And with that, the level's over. There really wasn't a lot going on after this part. Loopy Lights is brutal. The lights are used for visibility, which isn't a huge issue at the beginning of the stage. The biggest obstacles in the challenge are the claptraps, because this time they can jump at the same time as you do, though they fall a little bit faster. It took a while to time the jumps just right, and getting it right many times in succession was as much of a challenge as anything else. There are other times where making them jump when you do is beneficial, by making them, you know. There were other times where the lights going out made it tough to see where I can land, and it felt like I was going for blind jumps. It does get easier when the game decides to show Mercy and only has zingers. The Manky Kong at the end was just insult to injury. Make it past him and the level is over, after a claptrap. And now it's time for the final level in this challenge. Platform Perils. F this level. F this level. F this level. This is, without exaggeration, the hardest level in this challenge. Here's why. The start isn't too bad. I forced one of the clumps to despawn to give me some space to jump. I rode the moving platforms and dodged the armies. Then there comes problem number 1, the checkpoint. You can't hit it or the zinger flying around it will get knocked out. So I need to do this entire level in one go. Trust me, it gets worse. After that, I had to jump back and forth to avoid either hitting or taking damage from the naughty. By the way, I have to do this 5 times and then attempt to jump over a clump. And now is the worst part. I have to attempt the same thing with a Grey Crusher. With multiple Grey Crushes, actually. If you try to jump on them, you're only going to bounce off of it. So, there are multiple enemies on here on a tiny platform that are capable of bouncing me off. Which means, if I die, I have to start over. Every single part. After so many f***ing attempts. I got through it, and I kind of cheesed the ending that had the naughty on top of that small platform. Thank you, DK Atlas, but f you, game, for making me endure this form of torture. And after all that effort and frustration, do you want to know about a workaround? Well, you're at this point anyway, so this is how it's done. First, beat Manic Mincers and Mystic Mine. From there, I'll need to go back to Manic Mincers to redo the split-up glitch from earlier. After that, I'll need to play through all of Loopy Lights without defeating an enemy and without taking damage, because remember, I'll soft-lock the game. I chose to use Diddy Kong because he has a bit of a floatier jump, at least from what I've noticed, so it helped me out tremendously. But once you go through that level, at platform Perils, this is where the final trick will be done. Go to the first DK barrel that you see, grab it, and go to the left. There's going to be a platform underneath the one that's pointing right. You're going to want to land on that one. Ride it until you get to where these 2 pieces of wood are sticking out of the bottom of the platform, and that's when you throw the barrel. And if you do it right, it'll send you out of the level and it's finished. Honestly, this was the easiest part of the whole thing because I got it on the first try. From there, I fought Neki Sr. and King K. Rool to wrap up the game and to get my dang bananas back. So, can you beat Donkey Kong Country without defeating an enemy? Surprisingly, the answer is yes. But damn, do you really have to work for it. It would have helped if I saw these speedrun resources ahead of time, but I was not aware of the different versions of the game, which would have made it a little bit easier. But again, I chose the Nintendo Switch Online for convenience, and it was anything but. Joke's on me, I guess. Even with my frustrations with platform Perils and some of the other levels, I still had a great time with it. Maybe a little too stressful, but I had a great time. And I think that'll do it. Hey, thank you so much for watching the follow-up video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by giving the video a thumbs up and sharing it with others who may enjoy the Pacifist Challenge. I've got the Mega Man and Sonic Mania challenges up as well, so if you want to see more, you know where to go next. And at this time, I'd like to thank the supporters of this channel here on YouTube and over on Patreon. The Chaos Tier supporters have their names scrolling across the screen, and the Super Tier members paid for a verbal shoutout. They are Plush Fox, Luca Assist, Lord X, Funin, Mallory, Lucky Jail, Ultramate Game, Homemade Artistry, Snot Gaming, The Great Rolls, John Leon, Kale Nipclaw, Noah Dreamer, SASF, Skeleton King, Metal, TSXs, Classic Sonic, Vince, Ryder PWS, Cars Ignite 95, Obsidian the Gaming Zora, Meme Tan 24, Cameron S, Phil, Custom Cocoa, Lesbian Metal Sonic, Supersonic Star, Flugsoft, Chris, Mr. S, Indie Mine, Casey Conrad, Hamza Javid, Soron S, The Thunderbird, Frosted Productions, Teletales, Arc Neo Masato, Salk E, eBay, Julie's Real GD, Luna Mizu, GG Smalls, Jason Play Games, Yuger Paul, Delkin Clark, No Buy XDD, Kawai Sobaka, oh my god, I can't believe I said that, Tinka Gems, Gabriel Star 777, Arnie, Justin Sane 418, T-Man, Storm Chords, Howie Cat, Sakuragi Red, Hasco Fox CH, Kalab, Dave Ace, SciShow, Ultimate Jack, and Dalton Furry. Oh my gosh, that is a lot of names. If you'd like to support the channel with a monthly contribution, you could do so with the join button below this video or go to patreon.com/GottaBeFrank. Lowest tier is $1, and I thank you for your extra support. It is greatly appreciated. You can find my socials in the description of this video, as well as, once again, come by to the live streams. I stream up to 3 times a week. Twitch.tv/GottaBeFrank, just remove the E because somebody took that username. Again, thank you all so much for watching this follow-up video. It is greatly appreciated. I hope I don't have to do another follow-up video to a challenge video in the near future, but if I do, I think I know how I'm going to approach it. Hope you have a wonderful and safe day. I'll see you in the next one, but until then, take care. Bye-bye.